want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
When I first saw the footage, I was in shock. Actually, I was listening to it on the radio, driving home, and I was listening to the speech, and I was hearing President Trump speaking, and then I heard what sounded like gunshots, and then I heard him, not speaking anymore, and my heart kind of leapt, and I thought what I just heard was an assassination on live radio, because there was a pop, 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 and then obviously no speaking, and on the radio it made it even more dramatic because not being able to see what was going on. Later on, when I got home very quickly, and I saw the footage. It was shocking. These things, they're almost generational. I mean, I remember I was in college, university, when President Reagan was shot, and that's the last time I felt like, oh my God, the president's been shot. It's just such a, it's a once or twice in a lifetime thing, and when you see it happen, it's pretty shocking. And this was a 20-year-old kid with no formal training in sniper operations and things like that, and for him to come, I mean, within an inch or two of murdering the president, the former president, it is shocking. It's shocking that he could get that close with that clear line of sight, and to be able to take. I mean, I think he probably got off 5 or 6 rounds. It's a huge security lapse. Yeah, from an FBI standpoint, the investigation kind of starts in 2 or 3 down 2 or 3 roads at the same time. So different teams obviously handle different things. So the first thing, and everybody knows, is you go out and you interview his family, his friends, his coworkers, his schoolmates, whatever. And so you have these teams that just go out en masse, and anybody that's been ever in contact with him or associated with him is going to be interviewed. And that's a team. Those are teams of 2 that go out and do those interviews. At the same time, they got a search warrant in his house and his vehicle, and they're executing that search warrant. Now they're obtaining evidence, computers, phones, maybe journals, maybe writing pads, whatever it be, in his house. So all of the computer stuff goes to our computer forensic team. They're gonna break into his phone, or they're gonna get into his hard drives, and they're gonna do all that analysis. The writings, the journals, and all that stuff can go to our behavioral science people, our profilers, and they're gonna read his writings, and then they'll coordinate with the forensic team to read his emails and any online postings that he may have made, because we have what's called a social media exploitation team that's going to do a deep dive into his social media presence. So all of these things are happening simultaneously, all being fed back into the main lead investigator that's going to put all those pieces together. So it's physical evidence, it's his online presence, it's what his family and friends are saying, and you're starting to build a picture of who this person is. They'll trace that weapon, and from what I'm hearing, they already did, because they released the fact that it was legally purchased by his father. So it's kind of a short path, and how he got access to it. I'm sure they've talked to the father about that. And, we actually did recently have a case here in the U.S. where parents were held liable for a shooting conducted by their child. So they're going to see why and how he had access to the weapon. Maybe he had legal access to the weapon. I don't know. I got briefed by the FBI director and the attorney general yesterday, and they said there's no indication that he had prior mental health issues, or at least was treated for prior mental health issues, or was in contact with law enforcement in any way. So he didn't have an arrest record. He didn't have a history of being, taken in for psychological evaluations or any of that. They haven't seen any of that yet. So, yeah, I think that the weapon was legally purchased by the father. For what purpose, I don't know. And then somehow the son got a hold of it. You do spend time treating this as if it were a criminal investigation, as if the perpetrator was still alive. You want to handle all the evidence appropriately according to the law. So they did get a search warrant. They stayed outside his house until other agents were at the courthouse getting the search warrant. Once the magistrate signed the search warrant, then they entered his house and started the search. So everything is being done through the legal process as they would if the perpetrator was still alive, because exactly as you said, part of the investigation is not only who this kid is and how it happened, but did he have any help? Did he have anybody that financed him? Did he have any pre-planning activity? Was he at those fairgrounds earlier? Did he watch the Secret Service in any of their planning? Did somebody help him with that? And that's going to come through both interviews and looking at his online life, who he was connected to online, how he was communicating with people. If he's just kind of subjecting himself to that material and letting it kind of stew and radicalize him, that's That's not the fault of the people putting it out there. I mean, there's always that question about whether it should be out there, but our social media exploitation teams can do that, can look at not only is he on YouTube, but what videos he's watching, how long. They know exactly how long he's looking at a particular article or a particular video until he clicks off of it. Did he click the like button? Did he follow that? Did he comment? Did someone else comment on his comment? All of that stuff is analyzed, and it creates a picture, because the data can be so detailed in these things. They can know exactly how long you watched the video before you clicked off, whether you clicked a link in the video or a sublink on a page. All of that factors into your activity and how you will be behaving online. It really does create a really accurate picture of a person at their laptop or their screen and what they're doing. Two main factors. Hopefully, through personal interviews and people that were observing him on a daily basis or almost a daily basis, that's his family and his closest friends, because they'll know who he is. But it's quite possible he does come from, and I thought this myself when I did the second or third day when I started hearing about him, as you just said, the incel community. He could be part of that. Now, those people tend to be a little more guarded. They don't let their feelings be known that much, except among each other. So if he was visiting, say, websites or chat rooms where those people tend to gather, because they commiserate with each other, then they'll know that through that exploitation of his social media or his online presence. So it's going to be a combination of the people who knew him best, and then what he was doing online, who he was associating with in chat rooms and different websites online. That will kind of build that part of his picture. The RNC that's happening this week is demonstrably different than that rally in Pennsylvania, in that there's the planning for the RNC has been going on for probably at least a year. I've been involved in some of these long range planning ones, and they not only have the Secret Service, but the FBI, but State Department, maybe not civil, but Homeland Security, the local police, the state police. In addition to that, it's demonstrably different because it's an indoor venue mainly. So you don't have the public access like you had in Pennsylvania with all these open spaces. So inside that arena, inside that closed off arena, the access in and out is going to be much tighter controlled and much easier to control because if you have those access points, and it's a closed environment, so you have more control over an indoor closed environment like that. So I think the planning that has been going on in preparation for the convention may not change. What may change is a little bit outside the arena where we have people show up to protest. That those areas may be pushed back a little bit now. They may be further, the perimeter may be extended, and now you're not going to have people allowed to be as close to that venue. But even so, all of the delegates and all of the politicians will be brought in, through secure entrances, probably underground. And so it's a very, very different venue. I have some friends that were on former presidents' details, President Gerald Ford and some others. And it's a very delicate balancing act. The close-in support, the people that tackled Donald Trump on that stage have been, some of them have been with him since 2015 when he first became a candidate for president in his first election. So these people stay tight. That's the way the Secret Service works. You stay with that person, and into retirement, when they're no longer the president, that team stays with him because there's a comfort level built up. They know each other. So, and by all accounts, Trump loves his team that has been with him for almost 10 years now, and they love working for him by all accounts. So there's this very, very close personal relationship. He probably knows all their families, obviously by first names. He's probably met all of their families and things like that. So I think when something like this happens, there is a balance. And also you have to remember, he's the boss. Yes, they're in charge of his security, but he is ultimately the boss. And so you're trying to kind of strike that balance. In this situation, oftentimes you do see the Secret Service override the wishes of the protectee and get the person when they need to go. In this situation, you saw a little bit more deference paid. That's a judgment call based on their relationship with him and their knowledge of the threat. I mean, there's another team that might have handled it differently, but this is a team that knows him, that he's comfortable with, and they're comfortable with him. Yeah, I think you can second guess it, but in retrospect, it wasn't a significant delay. It did kind of alleviate the crowd a little bit because people are watching in horror, and they think their former president was just murdered in front of their eyes. It's not the same situation, but I liken it a little bit to, you know, an athlete that's the crowd is hushed because he's on the ground, he's been hurt, and he's being carted off the field on a stretcher, and he holds his thumb up and he tells the crowd, "I'm okay," you know, and the crowd goes crazy because you want that relief. You want to tell your fans, you know, "I'm okay." And I think there was a little bit of that. Of course, this is a much more dangerous situation because you don't know if there's other shooters out there, you know, and you could get yourself killed or you can get one of your detail killed. So yeah, it was an interesting dynamic to watch played out, but I think that, you know, in the end, I think that, you know, obviously, and for good fortune, everything worked out.